and I get the pleasure to just introduce Deb McGregor, who's going to be our primary presenter today. And I'm going to just call out a couple of things. We've already put a few comments in the chat window. Feel free that you should maybe have that open so that you can see if there's background chat and questions or other things being posed. And then if Deb's saying something that I think it looks like people in the chat sort of say, hey, what were those 3 points again? I oftentimes will try and drop them in the chat window so you'd have it as well. But this is a presentation being brought to you by the Small Business Development Center. Small Business Development Centers, or as we call them, SBDCs, are all over the country, and there's one near you for that matter. We have all switched basically to remote and distance-based advisory services. So what does a Small Business Development Center do? Well, we do education events like this, but we predominantly do one-on-one consulting with small businesses, and there is not a fee for our services to work one-on-one with a small business. So be it marketing, be it finance, be it import, export, buy, sell, business activity, whatever it may be, those are the kinds of things we typically get pulled into to advise a particular client and work with them. And it's not as if you get 30 minutes and then you're done. We will work with you over the course of a project. So we're pleased to be a resource to you. We are officially listed in places like the SBA official, what they call resource partners. So you can find us in lots of places as to refer back to us, but we will have a slide at the end, as well as I'll probably throw it in the chat if you want to follow up and basically sign up for our services rather than just listening in on something like this webinar. We are happy to have you as a client, and we'll then assign a consultant who would work with you one-on-one. But that's a background about who's involved with delivering this. But more importantly, Deb McGregor is one of the consultants who works for the Small Business Development Center, both in this area, West Central Minnesota, as well as the Northwest corner of Minnesota. She does great work. She's a phenomenal resource to us. We're happy to show her off, so to speak, in terms of bringing this particular section about strategic marketing during times of crisis like we are in right now. So with Deb, you might want to polish off the intro, but feel free to take over, and then I'll just go into the background and wait for questions and things.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. And I also want to thank Amy, who's going to be doing our slides for us. And I did just put in the chat box, I would love to have you just put who you are, what kind of a business that you do. This may also help me as we're coming up with some ideas during the slides. And also, it's great networking for you, because you may get ideas based on who else is on this call of individuals who are also looking to be creative, flexible, and adaptive in what they're doing. And there may be some potential ways to collaborate. I also want to let you know, if you look down at where the video thing, if there's a red X through it, it means I cannot see your face. If you don't want to be seen, that's okay. I get it. We can all see what's apparently beauty people are not, quote, essential workers. Well, we're all going to see that in about 6 to 8 weeks, right? I would love to see you, though. I love to see your faces and connect with you also. So what we're going to do is talk about 5 things that you can do now to be very strategic and do that marketing during a time of crisis. And one of the things that we found is that Amy's trying to get this to go. There we go. One thing I should let you guys know, because of exactly what we were just talking about prior to starting, the bandwidth issues, we have noticed that our slides are tending to go slower. And the other thing that we are noticing, I'm just going to say, we do have all our security settings up. However, I just want to put this little thing asterisk. If any bizarre, out of character, anything shows up during this and somebody potentially hacked us, I want to let you know that it is not any of us. It is not a glitch on our computer. There have been some icky stuff going on. We do have all the security settings on. I just want to let you know that, please know that if that happened, it is not any of us. I just want to put that little asterisk on there. So a lot of you right now may be feeling like you're biting your nails. You may be feeling like, I have no idea what to do right now. I am feeling extremely overwhelmed. What am I going to do next? What if this doesn't work? Where do I start? When the brain is in a state of overwhelm, it is very hard to focus and it's very hard to function. And so one of the things that I have invited people to do during this time is, in a sense, it's like grabbing a pair of binoculars. And what I want you to think about doing is taking a huge view of what could be possible right now. It might feel like we're kind of in this big tall grass. It might even feel to some people like we're really in the weeds. But if we get out that binoculars and we look way out into the distance, we know that we are going to get through this. We know that there are possibilities out there. And we know that if we can start searching out there, we might find that one little thing or those two little things that are going to actually help get us to what that bigger picture is for us right now. And I know for me personally, it's a lot about mindset right now and where I'm choosing to put my focus. So my invitation as we go through this plan is to think of yourself as being able to look at a broader picture, but then focus in, almost like that little binocular can focus in on that one or two things that we can be helping you with to be very successful, not just survive, but to actually find a way to thrive by what you can do during this time frame. So we're going to talk about 5 things today. We're going to talk about the importance of a plan. We're going to talk about connecting and engaging. We're going to talk about collaborating, being creative, and being flexible and adapting. Now, the reason it's important to have a plan is because a plan helps identify where you want to go. It also helps the brain focus. When you don't have a plan, you can be doing 10 zillion things. It's almost like, it's like as if people just start throwing something here, and they just hope that something's going to stick on the wall and do something. I'd like to invite you to look at something that is a plan so that that focused intention and effort will move you forward and to where you want to be. So first, let's take a snapshot of your business. And I want you to write down 4 things. And I know Matt will also put these in the chat as well. The first thing is, what's working for you right now? Even amidst COVID-19, what is working? If we can go back to the snapshot, Amy, that'd be great. So in the snapshot, what's working for you right now? The second thing is, what isn't working for you right now? The third thing is, what opportunities do you see emerging? Because even amidst all this, a lot of people are all of a sudden seeing opportunities that they didn't realize even existed before. And then the next thing is, what do you need to let go of right now? It's very interesting. We were just talking about clients we had met with literally 5 days before all of this started happening. We had some people that were actually going to be literally launching massive campaigns towards the end of March, beginning of April. Well, guess what? They had to let go of launching those massive campaigns. And instead, they had to do an entirely new plan because of what's happening with COVID-19. So they said, you know what? For right now, I'm going to let go of that and give myself permission to focus on what's important now and where I need to be going. This snapshot is actually going to help you identify where you can be going right now. Because as you look at the what's working and as you look at those opportunities, that gives you a place to focus and a place to start putting that intentional plan in place. So let's talk about that connection and engagement with your customers. One of the things right now is that a lot of people aren't recognizing the importance of connecting and engaging with their customers. In fact, we actually have some people that have literally crawled into a corner and are absolutely doing nothing. I actually sat in on a webinar this past week with somebody who is like a big name person, let's just put it that way. She's a big name person. And this was a very interesting, bold statement she made. And she said, people that are not connecting and engaging right now are going to realize that they're dispensable. I thought that was a pretty bold statement. And yet the more I thought about it, I started looking at my own experience during COVID-19 and what I have been finding with the people that I've done business with for a very long time, whether it's the place that I get my car fixed or my hair done, or my chiropractor, any of the above, right? Where I buy my soaps and my lotions and that type of thing. And what I realized is the people that I haven't heard from, it's kind of that out of sight, out of mind. And then it's not even just that. Some of them, I actually feel a little bit abandoned by right now. It's like, okay, you're not even touching base with me. Am I not important to you anymore just because I can't come in and spend money with you right now? And I think that's something that we need to be very aware of, is that if we are not connecting and engaging, there is a chance that we may not keep our people, because what they're looking for right now is who's engaged right now, who's a part of the solution. And that's what we want to be thinking about. So there are a couple of different things that we can be doing, because the bottom line is most people, unless we are essential service right now, we're working from home, right? A lot of us don't even have that place. There's so much we can do. One is, it can be as simple as phone calls. There have been a couple of businesses we've been working with. This is exactly what they're doing. They took their customer list. They've tried to keep their employees on the payroll. And so they are literally calling all of their clients, and they're just simply saying, I just want to check in. How are you doing? Some people, depending on what they do, can be doing something value added. Example, the people who do massage oriented businesses. It may be a video on social media which shows them some great stretching exercises. A chiropractor could do that as well. Here's some great stretching exercises that while you're at home and probably spending more average time on your bumper than you used to do, here's some great stretching exercises that can be beneficial for you. Or how about that neck? I find myself doing these special exercises because I am looking at a screen now 5 times as much as I used to do in my day-to-day working. And so those value added pieces that not only allow you to connect, but you can engage your audience in that. Sometimes it's simple as a post that you put up that says, I am so grateful for, what are you grateful for today? But something that you can engage them on social media. Not everybody's on social media, and I understand that. That's where even just that phone call can be really, really important. A lot of businesses, people are saying, how can we support you right now if you're not open? Invite them to write a review about your business. The more reviews you can get, it's going to help with search engine for one thing, but the other piece is more people are going to draw to you. Share our Facebook with a friend. Here's a value added piece. Here's why we can be relevant to people right now. I noticed that we have a chiropractor. The chiropractors I've seen right now that are doing very successful things are specifically doing educational components, whether it's a stretching or something related to the spine, or I saw one really good one on the integration of the impact of stress on the nervous system. And guess what? That post was getting shared because a lot of people are experiencing stress right now, and they need to be aware of what is that impact on our central nervous system. And so that's where a chiropractor can lend a professional voice to that. So there's also one of the things I'm also encouraging people to do is kind of think about yourself. What do you want to know right now from the people that you do business with? And start maybe a conversation of, yeah, okay, if that's what I'm looking for, maybe I need to start thinking about what are my people asking for? Maybe even call a couple of your loyal customers and say, hey, what would be valuable to you right now? I'm looking at putting a few things together. What would be valuable to you? I can tell you right now, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I do own also businesses myself. I'm in the trenches too. I know what this is like. I've had to completely modify the way I'm doing some of my stuff. But I will tell you that one of the things I did was I hand addressed, and I'm not kidding about this, and put together, along with my husband and son, who were able to help me, 200 relief care packages, and mailed them out. Each of them was amazing. And so I think that this has been really, really important. So that connecting and engaging with the audience is very, very important. So connecting and engaging is so important. Again, even if it's just a handwritten note. Another thing that I did, that this might be an idea for some of you, is I had a bunch of postcards, and they were of different sceneries, nature, that kind of stuff. And so I went through my most loyal customers, and I actually wrote each of them a postcard. And for example, there was one of a peony, and I just said, I think of you when I look at these peonies because ... Thank you so much for being a client, or thank you so much for supporting our business. And think about a floral store. I mean, there's amazing things they could be doing with the floral stuff right now. The next thing I want you to think about is collaboration. And again, this is what's so important about collaborating, is that it helps your clients, but you're also helping other businesses. So what I invite people to do is make a circle and look for those type of businesses that would make sense to be collaborating with right now. And once you start doing that, all of a sudden you start opening up possibilities to reach your customers better, but also to be helping each other out. One of the best examples that right now that I've seen, so a lot of the restaurants are still doing curbside or takeout, right? It's very interesting right now. Restaurants have become one of our best sources of how to be collaborating, because people are still getting food, right? Or the grocery stores or the essential places, right? Well, we had one restaurant, and I fortunately, within 24 hours of everything starting to hit, I called them and I said, we need to get a plan in place and we need to do it right now, because they're saying 2 weeks. This is not a 2-week thing. I just already knew kind of what was coming in my mind. And so not only did they amp up how they were doing the take up, they immediately started setting up connections with communities that were about 12 miles away that didn't have local curbside type of restaurants, and got key people in there where they could have a delivery drop-off point. In addition to that, they were able to establish relationships with other small businesses. One that was a local coffee roaster that had coffee beans, and then another was their local candy store down the street, who obviously didn't want people coming in and milling around and was trying to figure out the curbside. And instead, the restaurant said, no worries, just send them to our place. We'll box the candies up. And then when people call, we'll say, do you want a box of candy from the local candy store? Well, this has now gone a step further. I called them up because I kind of noticed that, everybody's doing puzzles right now. And I got to thinking about it. People have all these book exchanges. Why not have puzzle exchanges? And a reason for people to want to do a curbside takeout. And I got to thinking about their local Ben Franklin, who's a locally owned Ben Franklin. And I thought, they've got all these puzzles sitting in the store that nobody can get in and look at right now. So they have now added puzzles into what they're doing. And so I said, do the exchange thing out so that you have no issues with the social distancing. So they can do the curbside, run out of the car, plop a puzzle down, take another puzzle, still do the curbside. So there's that limited, you guys know what I'm talking about, the 6 feet and everything. But in addition to that, they then were able to talk to Ben Franklin about getting the puzzles. And so now, if somebody wants to get a brand new puzzle, they've got pictures up on the Facebook pages, and you can pick out a puzzle that you might want, and they just add it right onto the tab. They keep a very small percentage. In fact, I don't even know if they're keeping a percentage. They're more trying just to help them get their puzzles moved out of the door, right? Because they've got boutique items. Friends, that same concept can be done, whether it's a local artist, or I've been thinking about local musicians. Everybody's got local musicians that probably have CDs, right? Well, why not have an opportunity that music could be playing, or they could add it on a Facebook, have a way to click to that, but you could get the CD picked up when you're doing the curbside and purchase that. I've also been thinking a lot about how florists can be working with these local restaurants, or what about the nurseries now? So for example, curbside, pick up, or maybe with $50, you're gonna get the succulent or something, whatever, get the brainstorming going. But those collaborations with those businesses are so important. And I'm sure there's a lot of different ways. There was actually a gal yesterday I was working with, and she does this fascinating sound art. And she does a lot of work with yoga places. Well, the yoga places are doing a lot of online classes. So she's now collaborating with them to do the sound art on doing the live as well. And the cool thing about that is that what they can do is they've already got their audience. She's now bringing her audience to them. So they're helping yoga and they're helping sound art, but they're both using each other's Facebooking connections, right? And whether they Offutt in Zoom or Facebook Live, it's an online format. But the point is they've now been working with both audiences. And so they're doing a lot of cross promotion. So collaborate, make a circle, think about who those people are that would be good collaborators for you, and then start pulling all of those pieces together. I'm like super, super excited about that. All right, then we're gonna think about being creative, which some of what I was just talking about in collaboration is creative. We also wanna think about how can we even be creative within our own businesses or what we do. So there's a couple of things I saw. I actually just saw these in the last 24 hours. One of the places that I follow in Montana, they had a post up, and they have this huge parking lot that nobody's parking in right now. They invited any and all food trucks that want to set up in their parking lot for free to be able to have another takeout option, because believe it or not, in some communities where they have businesses that are essential workers and they have 24/7 shifts of people going, some of those people are working 10 to 12 hours right now and then literally go home, sleep, and come back. A lot of them are not having time to even get to a grocery store or go shopping. So for them, some of these takeout places are really, really essential. And so they now have all of these local food trucks that everybody normally sees, like in the summer at the farmer's market or at the fair. They're all excited, right? And then what's now happening with those food trucks, they're collaborating with some of these other boutiques or things where next to the food truck, they can set up a t-shirt stand, or they can set up, okay, I'm not going to, like a toilet paper roll stand. They're not really doing that, but you guys get what I'm saying. The other creative thing I saw is that, okay, so we've seen people from pizza places doing like the family takeout box with the roll, and so you can make your own pizza at home. I've seen a taco box, you know, where everything comes, but then you go home as a family and do it. I've seen people doing like the craft projects where you get your craft thing in a box and then pull it in. Well, the latest one I just saw that was so cool was an ice cream family box. And so in the ice cream box, you can pick like 4 flavors of ice cream, 4 toppings, okay, right? And then it comes in this box and they've got everything sealed up. Now, obviously you need to get it pretty fast and get it so the ice cream doesn't melt, right? I get that. But I'm thinking as the weather gets nicer, how cool would that family box be that you could actually take to a picnic table at a park and sit with your family and put that together and be eating your ice cream? Because eventually we're going to actually be able to go out and do things, right? But again, it's another creative idea. Probably though, the most creative outside of the toilet paper socks that I've seen, which are socks with cute little toilet paper rolls. And now people are coming up with these creative toilet paper slogan things. Some guy from this place developed these social distance sticks. Okay, basically all it is, it's the 6-foot stick. He tied a little string with a handwritten social distance stick on it. The guy can't keep them in stock, you guys, because right now it's not really funny, but it's funny. Do you understand what I mean by that? It's kind of like those things that it really isn't funny, and yet there's this thing about, okay, I've got to stand 6 feet apart. Well, what's 6 feet? Oh, here's my little 6 feet measuring thing, right? The guy can't keep them in stock. He said that he sold enough of those things that he's paying his rent right now. So those are kind of those creative things that the more creative you can be with what you do in your business, the better off it's going to serve you right now. And then I want to talk about being flexible and being adaptive. And this is, you know, I've got this frankincense tree up here. And the reason I do that is because these trees are thousands and thousands of years old, and they adapt, right? Even when you take the resin off of those things, it's like you'll do 3 layers to get to what you really want for the optimal oil of that tree. Well, guess what? We as businesses, we're being flexible and adapting all the time. That's what makes us entrepreneurs, right? And so one of the things I've invited people to do during this time is be willing to change. And sometimes that means leaving our egos at the door. Now, I'm not saying any of you have this, so just so we're not, I've said it on every single time I've done this, because here's what happens sometimes. We start doing a business, we've always done it this way, and we just keep chugging along, and all of a sudden we have this big major thing going on. If we aren't going to choose to be flexible and adapt right now, we are probably going to have some problems. And the reason is life is not the same right now as it was 4 weeks ago. And it's not going to be the same in another 4 weeks. And as it is right now, we're all sheltering in place at least till May 4th. And on top of that, for a lot of you that are on this call, you're probably dealing with flooding issues too. So we know in the past we've been flexible and we've adapted, right? Whether it was road construction, flooding, for some it could have been storms, right? We have done it. It just hasn't necessarily been for this length of time and in the same way that it looks right now. But we know we can be flexible and adapt. So we've seen examples of this. We've seen, I'm just amazed at how some of our restaurants and businesses immediately got to curbside. People that have never done this before. We've seen restaurants that never really did it this way before, literally recreated takeout menus, and so that they could do this. We are seeing boutiques. There's a place in Grand Forks that I follow. And what they've done, two ladies go in, they're at least 10 feet apart, I think. And they have started they get on their video, they put on some clothes, and they say, we have these available in this size, this size, this size, this is how they fit. And I'll tell you what, they are selling their clothes and then they're just shipping them to people's homes. They've got all this inventory sitting in those stores right now, and they've got bills to pay too, right? And so that has been a creative, unique way that they're doing that. We've seen people that have like the refurbished furnitures that are painting that type of thing. They're putting pictures. In fact, one of the places that I'm working with, normally they never did deliveries, but right now they are offering free delivery. So they put the picture up, different angles of it, different measurements, and then people can just buy it. They do, each day they do a different piece on discount, and that is how they are keeping the lights on and able to pay the rent right now, because they had enough that was sitting there that they've been able to do that. And the other thing is, especially if you are doing one of the programs where you're keeping your employees, one of the things they do is they've got people actually painting at home. And so once they get those things done, because they're still on the payroll, they get them in, get them up on the video, and then they're able to get them out. So that has been also really, really beneficial. We have seen places that sell boutique-y type items trying to collaborate with some of the restaurants, or moving online, or finding people who've already been selling online, or maybe now they're trying online for themselves. But that being flexible and being adaptive to what it looks like. I've been on a lot of webinars myself, just trying to track what are people doing, what's working, what's not working, because I'm very concerned about, or maybe not concerned, I'm aware of our small businesses, and I know that we can get through this. And I also want to be able to be the best service to you that I can. So I'm like constantly seeing like, what are people doing and what's working? But I've seen some really cool things emerging, even in how adaptive people are getting to, like we've got the bartenders that are showing different way to make cocktails. Well, of course, they're trying to encourage people to go to the liquor store. But the point is that they've adapted. I saw another place that I'm at that usually charges like big bucks for the type of stuff that they do. They're trying to not only make it affordable to people, but they're trying to get mass numbers in for something they're doing online, because they'll probably end up making as much money anyway, because they'll get more people right now because there's more eyeballs, and they're making it at a price point because of the effect on some people's income, right? But it's also it's working for everybody, right? It's working for people who want to spend less. It's working for them because they're getting more eyeballs, and more people are getting on it because the price point is there anyway, that maybe they had thought about it before. So that's just another way that as we get flexible and we adapt to it, that we can make this work. So we have covered a lot in this time frame. We talked about the importance of the plan, connecting and engaging, collaborating, being creative, and being flexible and adapting to that audience. And hopefully, I'm hopeful that all of you jotted down at least a couple of things as we were doing that. So what I would like you to do right now, I'm not sure if our things don't seem to be flipping anymore, so I'm just going to verbally talk through this. So what I'm going to have you do right now is write down 2 things that you will do to work towards your marketing strategy or your plan. And the reason I like to have you focus on 2 things is it seems like right now people are still kind of adjusting to this working at home thing. And if we can get you focused on 2 things that you'll do, it seems like you'll get those 2 things done. When it gets more than 2 things, it seems like people are getting overwhelmed. My invitation is put that other stuff over in a parking lot, and you can deal with that after you get these 2 things done. I'm a very organized person, and even I find myself right now needing to do this 2 things strategy. And I think it's just because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of data to assimilate right now. We're dealing with a lot of people right now. And so I'm just, like my brain is just, okay, Deb, focus on 2 things, get those 2 things done, and then move to the next thing. So grab the 2 nuggets that you heard on this that you feel like, yeah, I can do this. And for some of you, it may be even as basic as, what is the message on your voicemail right now? If you are not at your current workplace, making sure that your customers know Hi, this is Deb, just letting you know that due to the COVID-19, we are not currently in the office. Our intention is to return on X date. We will be scheduling appointments starting X date. In the meantime, if this is an emergency or you need to talk to one of us, here's how you can reach us, or please leave a message, and then please make sure that you're checking your messages. Also on your social media, please make sure that you've updated something so that people know what's going on with your business for the COVID-19. Again, you don't want people to feel abandoned by you. I'll tell you, one of my biggest frustrations during this time, quite frankly, has been when I have gone to call a business and I can't get anything. There's nothing. And it's like, okay, so what is your plan coming back? I will tell you that 2 days ago, I called my hair place because now I'm starting to realize this is going to get interesting. And so I said, what is the plan right now? They've got their calls getting forwarded to somebody. And she just basically said, here's the date we're starting to do this. Here's our plan if that doesn't work. But they had a plan, right? They could tell me what they are planning on doing. So just know what it is that you want to communicate them. So if you haven't done those couple of things, put down those things as your first two, because you need to make sure that your customers know what you are doing during this time. So a couple of other things. If you are, I'm assuming most of you are at least following West Central SBDC on the emailing and Facebook, probably because you got this. Oh, I forgot to say this. Yep, I'm sorry, Amy. I forgot to talk about my path of hope, your path of hope, hopefully. So the bottom line is that there is hope and there is light at the end of this path. And one of the things that I am very positive. I'm a very positive person. And I always believe that there's that light. And when we can focus on that path and move towards that light, that really is the path of hope, right? But there is a plan, right? There's a path to get there. And that's why it is so important to have that intentional plan. And I want to invite you to focus on that light piece of it, because if we don't do that, it is so easy to go down that rabbit hole. And the minute that we start doing that, we get distracted, we get overwhelmed, and we're not moving our businesses forward. So my invitation is to really focus on that light, focus on that hope place and where you are going with that. Keep moving. Inaction nothing's going to happen. Intentional action is the right kind of action, and that's going to get you to where you want to be. Okay, now, West Central Minnesota SBDC. Make sure you like us and are following us on Facebook. Jackson and Amy do an amazing job. They have been putting all the updates to all of these loan programs up there, any of the webinars that we're offering. They've just been doing a great job. We've been highlighting a couple of our clients who are really working through this complex reality and what they've been doing, and that's been amazing. And I want to remind you that you can also sign up as a West Central Minnesota SBDC client. Remember, these are no cost to you. If you are watching and you are from Northwestern SBDC, you can sign up as well. And I know a lot of you are already clients, and that's awesome. Please know that you have access to us, whether that is for some work with the marketing, or it might be a cash flow analysis, the COVID conversation around the loans. We have a great team of people who are here. And again, this is no cost services to you. And great, we've got this awesome thing about all these different things we can do to help. And we have been working actually with several of you already, I know. And some of you we were working with prior to this happening and had the best laid plans out there, and then this happens. But sometimes we just need to have a modified conversation. What does it look like now, and how can we make some of those adjustments now? I want to thank you so much for being on with us. I am going to try to go over the chats now and see if anybody has I'm going to try to just kind of breeze through these. Matt, while I'm looking through these, anything you want to add to what I've said?
No, but I do have a couple questions I'll call out from the chat because I've been monitoring it.
Oh,
And
excellent. That'd be awesome.
One of them I'm going to paraphrase as well, but the specific question was, how do you feel about talking about those that might have a limited budget today due to income? How do you talk about it without ignoring that some may have to go without that didn't before? But I think in a broader way, maybe it's tone. I'm sort of curious about the tone of messages in the midst of this and how to adapt how you're engaging with people, especially when it's more of a outward bound, one-to-many kind of broader marketing message or something like that.
So, Wendy, I'm trying to see what kind of a business you do, because I can maybe even specific to that more. But
Wendy's actually with Veterans Business Outreach Center of the Dakota, so she's up in.
So it's more of a general question. Okay,
Yeah.
So that will help. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying. So here's what I have been trying to direct people with around that. It really does depend on what your business is and who your clients are and what type of a relationship you have with those clients. I'll give you an example. A car garage. Obviously, right now, the car garages, a lot of them have chosen to completely be shut down right now. Some got themselves labeled as essential. There's kind of an interesting thing about that, also depending on if you're in Minnesota or North Dakota. And so what they were doing was trying to do more value added calls of, we know that you may not be bringing in the car right now. However, here are some tips that can be beneficial. Like example, if you leave sitting there for 3 weeks and you don't start it, you might have other issues. And they are also doing we also know that this can be maybe a little bit harder time. Therefore, we're going to offer a special program for people when they come back to help you and help us. We've got one business in town right now. They immediately are taking 15% off everything that they're doing in honor of the fact that a lot of people may have reduced income right now. The other piece about it is that, again, in knowing your clients, identifying what in your business, what do you do that is, for some people, it is a priority for them. I'll give you a very interesting example of this. So for some people, getting those fake eyelash things on, that's a big deal to them. To other people, it wouldn't matter at all, and it's not where they'd spend their money. I can tell you right now, I know some women that will come off of this, even with reduced income, and they will still get those fake eyelash things on. And this is not a ditch to the fake eyelash crowd. That's not it. What I'm saying is, it's about where are people's priorities. So when we know that customer that we're talking to, we are going to know where are their priorities and how does what I have fit within that priority. Wendy, can you just unmute? I want to make sure that I answer that effectively for you.
Yes, that was perfect. That's kind of what I was thinking, just as I think about assisting my clients to talk about it as well. It's that whole thing that we know it's the big elephant in the room, so like you're saying, going back to your clients and looking at that. That's wonderful. Thank you, Deb.
Absolutely. And to add to that, Wendy, what I think this is actually going to do for all of us as businesses, it is going to make us even more intentional about who is our audience, how are we serving our audience, and how are we really looking at what that product or service is that we're bringing and where does it fall for them in the priority zone. The reality is there may be some products that people choose to say no to, which is why we as businesses need to be even more creative and adaptive right now to look at what are people going to want to be having in their stores, right? And how can I start bringing that in or collaborating with other people who have that to make sure. I mean, let's face it, when this thing is, when people can get back into a salon again, all of us are going to need a haircut, right? They're going to be one of the busiest places. Whereas right now, they're hurting. But when this gets over, they're going to be packed hour on hour. I mean, it'll just be packed because everybody's going to want to get a haircut. Or if you look at me close enough, you'll probably see I got a little gray in, right? So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic. And the other thing that we have been talking a lot about in our team meetings is that even though there are some people right now that the income is limited, there are also a lot of people that still have cash flow. And the people that have cash flow are really trying hard to support small businesses. And so I know, my husband and I both still are working right now. And we have been very intentional every week to be selecting local small business. And by local, I don't just mean Bemidji. We've actually been supporting Fargo-Moorhead. We've been supporting in Montana. So I should probably just say small businesses. They're people that we have relationships with, that we have intentionally every week picked them out to make sure that we are supporting them, because we just believe so much in small business, period. And so there are people that do have income right now. I think what's happening is there's sort of this, people don't have money. Okay, we have to be careful also not to get too caught up in that either, because there are people that are earning money right now. There are a lot of medical professionals right now. There are people working at grocery stores right now that do have income. And I also want to let you know that some of these programs that are coming out, I just talked to a friend of mine who has 7 kids. And so they actually sat down and calculated out that surplus thing. So with 7 kids and with what they're each going to get, they're going to be getting a very large check this month, on top of the fact that one of their business, actually 2 of their home-based businesses are still operating, and they're going to have the surplus check. So I'm being really careful about not making a lot of assumptions right now. I'm staying very curious about my customers, very curious about what's going on, very curious about messaging, and I'm choosing an abundance mentality, even though I do know there are some folks out there. There are a handful. And what I also know is that there's a whole lot of relief that is going out to a lot of people right now. We've got food packages getting delivered in our community to people that even one gal I know that a food box went up for, and it was like, oh, that's interesting. So what I'm saying is, I think staying very open and very curious about what this really looks like. Does that make sense to you guys? Feel free to chat and put in the chat if what I'm saying is making sense. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense, hopefully, and people feel free to jump in and chat, or we can probably turn off some microphones and chat too. But the next question I'll ask you about that, and I think it's because there is a little glimmer, just one, of optimism relative to where we sit today, that supposedly flattening the curve, supposedly the thought starts to migrate to, when we open again. And so my question that I posed out there was sort of how are you feeling about balancing and taking, and what do you plan? How do you plan with regard to sort of short term and long term? Because short term is the current situation and curbside pickup and things like that, and then long term, what is in your mind is the difference there of how you want to view those 2 segments and how you want to apply your time.
Yes. And again, and I don't mean to sound like it will depend on your business. So I do want to make that very clear. If I am a massage therapist right now, the reality is I cannot be open. So my current focus would be, I'm going to be doing some videos on here's some stretching, here's some etc. And I obviously am going to start booking at, X time period out, right? Okay. So, but what I'm going to be thinking about if I'm in that type of industry is I'm going to be very, very busy when I come back. How can I manage that? Or what are some other complementary products that I can use this time to be maybe researching that I could be selling along with my practice to make up a little bit of that lost revenue from during this time? Now, if I am a business that is more boutique or that kind of thing, what I'm going to be thinking about is, what are the things coming out of this that people are going to be looking for? And for example, what have I not been buying now in the last 8 weeks that I might be looking for? Maybe people normally would have just been doing all the Christmas stuff that went on clearance, right? Moving into the spring sales. How can I optimize that right now? I think the biggest unknown right now, and I just had this conversation with a business leader this morning, is how long coming out of this are people going to need to take to get comfortable, like actually shopping in the same location with people and not worrying about, am I 6 feet apart from someone? Because this is going to change the way that you walk into a store and you're going to be looking around. What keeps occurring in my mind is, how can we as business owners help to normalize shopping again? And I think that is the thing that coming off of this. So in that long-term planning is, how can I be flexible within that time period to sort of know, okay, it's going to take people a little bit of time. So how do I set up my store so that I have, in a sense, different shopping areas? This is going to be completely different than everything we know in retail sales, right? So how can I conveniently set things so that there's almost like these little sections, if you will, but that people are comfortable they can be 6 feet apart or whatever until we actually start getting comfortable, literally being right next to each other again. And I think there is going to be a few months where we kind of have this dance going on. And then the bigger looming question for me is, we start recovering from this. What does the fall look like? What predictions are coming for fall? So how do we take what we are learning right now and know, bing, I can adapt just like that if something else emerges again? So I don't know, Matt, does that help? I feel like there is a lot of unknown, and yet at the same time, I just believe that if we start being aware of and watching people's behavior and adapting to that, I think we're going to see that can be effective. The biggest thing I see, people want to be able to go out to dinner again at a restaurant. The question is, how fast can we integrate back to that, and that people are comfortable with that, and that experience can return, the experience of just being able to go browse at a store. So how can we continue to normalize that behavior again? I think that's going to be a big component of it. The travel industry, that is a big unknown right now, is how are people going to adapt with travel? I'll tell you what, people who sell campers and that type of thing, there's going to be a lot more people that I see doing that for traveling. They'll take their car in a camper, right? I think that's going to be an emerging thing.
There are definitely going to be some hot spots, if you will, that aren't necessarily always easy to predict, but there are these hot spots of how the new norms are sort of a product or a category that is helping sort of support the safety concerns, the fears and things, and people's, to what lengths are they going to continue to do that? And the longer this experience lasts, the more we will have a elongated or pronounced or more extended sort of coming back to normal phase, even if it's more to a new normal versus the same old normal. So the more months we're all sort of quarantined and adapting our habits, the more I think it's going to be more front of mind, take longer for people to sort of, if you will, snap back. So if you're just expecting them to snap back, it's probably short-sighted. You have to figure out, like you said, maybe I actually have to think about one-way aisles in my store, because then people aren't actually crossing traffic as much, and that might drag into the summer, fall, whatever that may be.
Well, and I'm even thinking like, I'm glad that Andy put that piece up about even people with a limited income are still buying. They may not be buying as much, but I know they're trying. I see it in every community that I've been working in right now. People are trying so hard to support these businesses to keep them going. And even I've seen the larger businesses buying like large amounts of stuff for their employees to keep those other small businesses. And that's something I do think that people are going to remember who supported them through this. That I am convinced of. People will remember. That is something. Do you guys remember, like, I call it my grandparents' generation and even my parents' generation, where that loyalty core value was so big? Like, you were loyal to that garage, or you were loyal to that paint store, right? I do think we are going to see some emergence of that around this. And the reason is going to be that people are going to be loyal to the people who were loyal to them through this. People will be loyal to the people who helped them get through this. I actually think this is one of my predictions, that we will see a return to some of that core value coming out of this, because people are not going to forget who kept them in business. I just believe that. People are not going to forget who helped them through this time period, who was getting takeout, who supported that boutique, even if it was a curbside pickup, who did mail order through them. Like, I really believe that we're going to see some of that. Who was the coach who helped coach me through my mindset so that I didn't fall apart and I could stay on my path? I was curious if the chiropractor was.
It's Deb. It's Deb.
What?
Deb's the one that helped me.
Oh, well, but Shannon's on here. Shannon's a coach too. That's why I was saying that. Steve, I'm thinking about Steve doing the digital. Steve is helping people with how to make something work in video production or in digital mode, right? To make sure that their message is getting out there. Marine Innovations. It's like, wow. I mean, they're doing the inclined elevator manufacturer. Think about people and how they're helping people, right? Christina, I was curious if Christina's seeing people right now. Most of our chiropractors here are just doing 2 days a week, and they are asking for people who only really need to be seen right now. I was curious what you guys are doing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Deb?
Yeah.
So, by the Department of Homeland Security, chiropractic is essential healthcare. Those that choose to be open sure can be, and we have to follow the guidelines, the CDC, the Clay County. I'm in Moorhead, Minnesota, so we're doing the best that we can. I have a one-patient approach right now. Nobody in the waiting room, longer appointments. So my practice has slowed down considerably, but I'm full, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think we need chiropractic right now more than ever, right? Because of the nervous system. And so that is encouraging. And yeah, here they've done, like there's 2 doctors. So one comes in on Monday, one on Wednesday, but they're really limiting. And of course, in between, you can be doing the online support, etc. But I guarantee you, Christina's going to remember every customer that was loyal to her during this time. And I guarantee you that she's going to remember the people that were coming into her. I know that. Because this is a big deal thing. The woodworking, I was just looking down the list here. So the POS Woodworks and Design, this is a great time to be demonstrating what you do, taking on specific projects. And I don't know if you do the smaller wood stuff, but tons of that stuff, people are just doing videos and they're selling it right off their thing. You know, it's amazing, and doing door side delivery, even if it's local. So I think what's going to be so interesting to me is, as we come out of this, how do we normalize what life looks like again? What is the new normal? What is that going to look like? And I just hope that we come out of this and we're not afraid to be around people again. Because in one way, we're sitting here saying, I miss being with people. I miss sitting across and having a coffee. And yet in another way, we're kind of saying, I'm afraid of people. It's so interesting. And so how we help people through this, how we communicate even as people that not only employ people, but also as the owner or sole proprietor, that is going to make a huge difference. Like we were talking about, our tone, our language, our conscious language around this. And I just choose to believe that we will come out stronger. And I also choose to believe that we're going to learn a lot from this. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this serves us moving forward as local, like as our local peoples, and as our states, and as our, not just the United States, as world. I mean, this is amazing. So it's actually quite fascinating to watch. And I come from a medical family, so it's been very fascinating. My brother's in the ER. He's a nurse practitioner in the ER. And that's an entirely different, what his lens through this is entirely different than our lens through this. So those lenses, as we start doing more awareness around the different lenses that people are witnessing this through, I think there's going to be some amazing conversations that happen.
Deb, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to invite people if they want to ask any final questions. We can probably do it in the chat, or if you want to turn yourself off of mute and pose a question or something. But great session. I think it's thought-provoking now, sort of how to extend the language, how to extend the words in a way where you can apply them. And if you have trouble with that, call us. We're happy to help work with you with regard to trying to bring those ideas or the words and the potential responses on the marketing side here to life with you, to try and take advantage of this, of what you can during this this point in time of helping people through a crisis. So that's great. We did do a recording of this session, so I think that's going to be available. I'll let Amy sort of close us off in terms of any of the housekeeping for a copy of the deck or a.
Yeah, so anybody who registered for this, I will send you the recording and the slide deck for this, and I will also be posting it. Well, I'll probably post it on YouTube, and then have a link to our different social media platforms so people can see it.
Awesome.
All right, with that, Deb, thank you very much again. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe, stay strong.
All
Cheers.
right. Thank you.